Dash League. What's going on? Welcome to episode 6 of DASHCAST. I have been trapped in the game for most of the DASHCAST episodes, so I'm ecstatic to finally get out. And you know, I thought that I should come out and just experience nature. So here I am. I thought that I should come out and experience grass again, to touch the grass, to smell the grass, and just be in nature. So, on this episode of DASHCAST, we've got the Cycle Circleback, we've got the Cycle Highlights, we've got Emdubs Players of the Cycle, and then we've got an episode discussing playoffs, because that's happening this week. That is happening this week, and I am so excited to sit back on my butt in the dark watching playoffs, probably casting some matches, but this is going to be great. So sit back and enjoy this episode of DASHCAST while I sit back and enjoy some nature. Like, look at this. Boom. So I am going to continue touching grass, and we'll just let my Goose partner take it away. Go ahead, Goose.
Awesome. Thank you for that intro, Goose. Well, we are going to be taking it back to the very first episode of DASHCAST when I set it up just like this. I think I was standing, though, but it's okay. We're going to be cycling back to your Cycle 6 games right about now. Here we go with Sith taking on Underdog. Sith gets the win over Underdog again. I'm going to make this joke for the last time, but they got lightsabers. Boom. They get the win. ATX gets the win over Hard. You're going to get a win one of these days. We've got Limbo versus Emu. Limbo under the competition gets Emu to the win. Envy taking on Midnight. Bound to happen. Acid gets the win over Rook. That was a great game. You should go back and watch it if you haven't seen it. Sky gets the win over Wolf. That was a pretty close game. Sky coming away with the victory there. ATX gets the win over TBDI. I can finally pronounce that. TBDI. Yeah. Iron gets the win over 12 a.m. Midnight. That was a good game. Life gets the win over Phoenix. Phoenix put up a fight, but Life just uses their 1-up and gets that win. Hacks gets the win over TBDI. TBDI, I can say that quick again. Hacks gets that win. UNSC gets the win over Supernova going into the playoffs. This is a great matchup. Southern Cross gets the win over Underdog. Southern Cross is a arguably Dasher team, and they get the win. They also get the win over Sky. That was a close match, but Southern Cross gets the win. Phoenix gets the win over Iron. Iron's doing pretty well, but Phoenix got that win right there. Envy gets the win over Control. This was a replay of a previous match. Ajax gets the win over Sith. Ajax ended up in Walker, but they got the win. That was weird. Fire getting the win over Emu. Emu doing as best as they can. Wolf gets the win over Rook. Another close match. Limbo gets the win over Hard. Hard, again, you're going to get a win one of these days. We've got Jester taking on Hacks. Jester comes away with the win. Boom. Then we've got Ajax taking on Acid. Not taking Acid, but taking on Acid, and they get the win. I made that joke in Cycle 1. I like bringing that joke back. Fire gets the win over Jester. That was a great game. We've got Life taking on Supernova. Life gets the win over Supernova. And then finally, we've got Control taking on UNSC and getting the win. Boom. There's your Cycle 6 games. On to the Cycle Highlights. Later. All right, here we go with your Cycle 6 highlights. First off, we start off with Aries of War going on a crazy kill streak. We love these long kill streaks.
One kill. Another kill. Oh, great headshot there. Gonna get it. Get 2 kills in a row. Popping off of this work by him. Another headshot on 8 kills out. Aries Award popping up again. Oh my gosh.
Ends up with a 10 kill streak. And then we've got another highlight by Aries getting an awesome bounce shot to kill the person on the cart. Outstanding. Then from that very same game, we've got Mr. Giggles. Double SMGs in hand. going on his own kill streak.
Moving for just a little bit. Gets 90.
And after 12 kills, finally gets taken out. Next up, we got F2P. Almost single-handedly securing this pre-check. Then we've got Koala. Just doing Koala things. Extremely low health. Holding down this B button. Next up, we've got Bible Crusader. Double shockage action going on. Takes out a couple. Goes back for some health. Decides against it, but then gets a triple kill on Cart. Then we've got Push with a last second button push. Next up, we've got Humbles with the end of a 10 kill streak. Next up, we've got Wolf with a very impressive push through the checkpoint.
Wolf is still pushing double stack. Rook almost there.
And even when Rook takes them out, Wolf groups up and gets this last push through.
You're going to a sudden death.
Next up, we've got a sudden
Let's
death
go.
victory for Acid.
Oh my gosh. Hey,
Lobster
rocket
Master
POV, I
doing their
called it.
best with the rockets,
I'm only a
but
little
Acid
excited.
comes away with the
Oh,
win.
and a shield. They're gonna go for the rockets. 3v2, 3v2. 2v2. It's only 1v1. No. Wolf gets the pick. That is a win for Acid.
Then we've got 4 getting just an outstanding behind the back kill through his own body. Then we've got Tenacious Dave dodging rockets left and right. It's almost like it's the Matrix. And those are your cycle highlights for Cycle 6. Remember, if you want your highlights featured, post them on the Discord.
Alright, what's up everyone? This is Emdubs here, and here are the players of Cycle 6. Just as a reminder, the players of the cycle is meant to reward both individual player performance as well as the team performance. So to get these awards, you gotta play well, but you also gotta help your team win. So for Cycle 6, the final cycle, let's start with the Walker tier. First, we have Solar from Limbo. So Solar led Limbo to a very impressive 4-0 perfect map record in Cycle 6. And Solar top scored in every map played for Limbo, and was also the top killer in 2 of the 4 maps played. So Solar's impressive showing in Cycle 6 really helped Limbo finish as the 2 seed in the Sprinter playoffs. So great job to Solar. Now the second player of the cycle in the Walker tier is David199194, who helped ATX attacks achieve a 4-1 map record with 2 wins against Hard and TBDI. Now, David really showed his versatility by leading his team in scoring for 4 out of the 5 maps played. And now ATX now enters the playoffs as the 4th seed in Walker tier. So great job to David. Now let's move into the Sprinter tier. First, Sprinter player of the cycle for Cycle 6 is Inept, who is an early alpha player, and he helped lead his team Ajax to a perfect 4-0 record in Cycle 6. Now, he was the top 2 killer and top 3 scorer for every map played for Ajax. But unfortunately, due to the SR playoff seeding, Ajax actually drops to from Sprinter to Walker for the playoffs. But nonetheless, great job to Inept for his great efforts. Now, the second Sprinter player of the cycle for Cycle 6 is Xerneas from Styx. Now, Xerneas helped lead Styx to a 4-1 record for Cycle 6 in terms of the map record, scoring 2 victories over Sky and Underdog. Now, Xerneas was a top 2 killer in every map played for Styx this past cycle, propelling the team all the way to the 4th seed in Dasher. So great job to Xerneas. Now, last but not least, for the Dasher tier, first of all, we have Castle from Life. Now, Castle helped Life achieve a perfect 4-0 map record against Supernova and Phoenix. He was the top scorer in 2 out of the 4 maps played, and also the top killer in 2 out of the 4 maps played as well. So now Castle actually helped secure Life a top 3 playoff seeding with his great performance in Cycle 6. So great job to Castle. And the second Dasher player of the cycle goes to Koala, who led Envy to also a perfect 4-0 record against Control and 12 AM. And his outstanding performance helped Envy achieve the top overall seed for the playoffs. As one of the greatest players of all time, he was the top scorer in every single map played for Envy. And he was also the top killer in 3 out of the 4 maps played for Envy as well. So great job to Koala. That wraps up the players of the cycle for Cycle 6. Just to reiterate, from the Walker tier, we have Solar from Limbo and David 199194 from ATX. In the Sprinter tier, we have Inept from Ajax and Xerneas from Styx. And in the Dasher tier, we have Castle from Life and Koala from Envy. So there you have it. That wraps up the players of the cycle for Season 7. And good luck to everybody heading into the playoffs.
Okay, welcome to this new section of DASHCAST. Since we're getting into the playoffs, we thought we'd talk a little bit about our predictions. And of course, in here we have Goose behind the cams and behind the mic. We also have Lateralis, me, not Gollum, and our 2 guests, Lazarus and C2. Say hi, guys.
What's gritty in the hoodie?
Who let those idiots in here?
I'm up there.
Wow.
So, a bit of a foreword. We're aware, we're well aware, everybody is well aware that some of the placements this season are wonky because of the way that the SR and MMR have worked out. We're full aware of that, and we're going to do better about it next season. But given that, these are the circumstances we're in. As a whole, we're pretty excited to see a lot of these matches go forward. And we're going to go ahead and talk about that now, starting with Walker Tier. We've got some predictions from each of us and going through a couple of the matches for this first round. We'll just talk about them matchup by matchup.
Sounds good.
All right, are we ready?
Sure are.
Ready?
Hopefully.
The big
All right.
reveal. So we each set up our own bracket, and we're going to start with Ajax versus TBDI. The top is from Lazarus. The middle right is from me. Bottom right is from Lateralis. Bottom left is from C2. So we seem pretty unanimous here about Ajax in this matchup. Why'd y'all choose Ajax here?
Okay, so I guess I'm going first. First thing I want to point out is that I use Comic Sans for my font, making me better than everybody. But my primary reason for picking Ajax over TBI is Laggy and Inept. So Laggy's been around since what, season 0? 0-1. And Inept has been around just as long. And they both played on very high level Dasher teams. They just came back for this season. And yeah, I mean, they're great killers. I think if they play at all half of their best, they'll win the match.
And like, I have every respect for all the players on TBDI. Of course, I mean, many of them are, or a couple of them are board members themselves. They're all experienced players in their own right. But when you talk about that experience, Laz, with those two players in particular, they've played at high level, and some of them have played for longer than any of these TBDI guys, as far as I'm aware, right? And then if we just look at the performance throughout the season, like, it seems pretty clear to me that Ajax is probably going to take this match.
I'm pretty sure it'll be Ajax. They have the stronger overall roster. They're a new team, but I think they even started in Sprinter just because of the roster they had to start the season. I don't even think they started in Walker.
Right. That's a Bible Crusader who we haven't mentioned, who's been on a Dasher team for multiple seasons.
And they've got Sage Birdie and Not Juice. Like, they've got like a full stack lineup. Like, I have faith in them to win that match.
Inept and Laggy, Stir Fries. They've got Texas Toast. And Oles Brothers is a good player as well. So they've got a pretty good lineup. And I think, when we talk about teams that get a little bit misplaced in the playoffs this season, Ajax is one of those. They should not be in Walker. They should be up a little bit higher, but things fell the way they did, and it'll be addressed and better next season. All right, so I want to explain a little bit what we are doing here. So what you guys can see on your screen is basically an empty bracket, the bracket that all four of us picked. And we're going one matchup at a time. So right now we can see Ajax, TBDI. We've already been talking about them a little bit, but as we talk about each matchup, then those will pop up on the screen. So we're just kind of going around talking about all these. But I also want to mention, when we do each matchup, the seed. So on the bottom right, that's the 3 seed and the 6 seed. On the top right, that's the number 2 seed, the number 7 seed. On the top left is the number 1 seed. And the number 8 seed matchup, and then bottom right is the number 4 and 5 seed. So as we talk about these matchups, just want y'all to know like what the seeds are and how this bracket works and all that. So anyway, C2, what are your thoughts? Ajax, TBDI.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you guys. Ajax is overall definitely a very solid team. They did a couple V Worlds. I played against them, all great players. And I love TBDI, don't get me wrong, but Ajax just does not belong in Walker, so I have to agree with you guys. Definitely Ajax.
And speaking of ever so slightly misplaced teams, if we move on to the next matchup, Sky versus Hard, C2, you want to give us the rundown of who you think is going to take that and why?
I'm gonna have to go with Sky. Sky has a very strong roster. Like you said, Nakolum, they definitely don't belong in Walker. Definitely a pretty solid Sprinter tier team. I haven't really played with Hard much, I'm not going to lie. I have watched a couple of their games. They're not a bad team. But I just have to agree, Sky's definitely going to take it there.
Yeah, just kind of outclassed in a way here. Like if Hard makes anything happen here, I would be extremely surprised. Right? You guys too?
Yeah, especially because they're a new team.
Yeah, that's another factor. Is Sky's been around since season 3. I mean, they're an old team, one of the oldest, and this is basically everyone Hard is basically a new player, or they've only played a couple seasons. And it's been really great to watch them improve over the season. But they clearly have been struggling against some more experienced teams, which makes sense. So yeah, it's pretty easy lock in for Sky.
Mm. You got any
Goose, what
insight
do you
into
have to
that?
say about
Sky
this?
Goose, Sky Lateralis?
I mean, I give props to Hard. They've fought hard over the season, no pun intended. But looking at their record, I mean, I don't mean to be that guy, but like it's pretty clear that Sky is just going to, like you said, outclass them, and it's not anything against them. It's just the experience is more in our favor.
Never underestimate the ability of me to fuck things up, though.
Right, exactly.
See how it goes. See what happens. No, this will be a Sky win. And as Goose was saying, nothing personal to Hard, but Sky is one of those teams that got egregiously misplaced in playoffs this season. So it's gonna kind of
go down.
I don't know. Yeah, it'll go down. So Sky will advance on that one.
Also, on a personal note, this is your first time not being in Dasher playoffs. What?
Oh, true.
Yeah. Well, it's my first time. No, it's my second time not being third or fourth. So season 1, I was on the third place team, and then fourth every season after that until the first season I joined you on Loop Golem. I think we were like 5th or 6th or something like that. I think others still got 4th that season or something like that.
Yes.
That was the season that UNSC, or maybe I think UNSC was like 2nd. I remember there was one season UNSC just like took a season off and they dropped, and I was thinking it was that one, but no. But then
that was last season.
And then the season after that. Oh, okay. And then last season we were 3rd. So I've always been either 3rd or 4th, except for that first season with Loop.
And
it's funny.
We were in contention for 3rd. Gotta just add that little asterisk there. Like we had a decent chance. It was a close game versus Envy, but Envy ended up actually getting the bronze there
and winning the game, or winning the game. They ended up winning league that season. There you go. That's why
no, season 5. You're talking about season 5. I'm talking about season 6.
What about
season 6?
D and Acer.
I think we matched up with them in the first. I think in the first round, right?
Mm-hmm. And we got knocked
out. We got knocked out in the first round. Yeah, we didn't even make semifinals last season. We finished 3rd.
It was
but
close.
We didn't get to the semis. Yeah, that's one of the few seasons I wasn't in semis. I've usually gotten to the Dasher semis, and then that's it.
But regardless,
but this
we'll
season,
get to Dasher later.
I got kind of a little fed up with the top Dasher team mentality sort of deal going on this season, and so I always talk about people going down and helping out other teams they think that need a little help to raise up a little bit. So my whole intention was to take a team like Sky, and who I think they've got veterans, but they seem to be finishing in that same area every season. Maybe they need a little bit of just some Dasher experience to come in and sort of direct things a little bit. So I joined Sky, and they were down to like let me teach them and all that, and hoping to get into those Dasher playoffs. But I took them right to Walker, guys. the lowest I've ever finished.
Right.
And it's
and
crazy,
all things
though,
naturally blame Lat. I mean, that's just
of course.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Never underestimate my ability to fuck things up, because this team this season, we went over roles, we went over strats, we went over so much stuff, and even like some tactics to use to make sure we perform better on match day. And and we lost 5 matches all season. Those were all against Dasher teams. It was Envy, it was Southern Cross, SP&V, Phoenix and Life, and we won every other match this season.
Yeah.
We beat 12 a.m. We beat Sith. We beat I don't know. We beat everybody else. Like we beat 4 or 5 teams that are ahead of us in the playoffs right now. So yeah, this was definitely a frustrating placement for Sky, especially for me. Just with what the goal was, and it just went completely backwards. And if y'all want to, like, I don't know, I could get a little behind behind the scenes on some of the stuff with what happened. With not that like any uh whatever. Let's move on.
The TLDR is
Let's
yell at
move on.
lat if you're
Yeah.
angry about something, and
Basically, yeah.
things will work out just great for you.
It's my fault. Yeah,
Exactly.
Don't let me on your team.
And speaking of matchups, this one I feel like is a little bit more in contention. The lower left in the Walker tier, ATX
Yeah.
versus Acid. So 3 out of 4 of us seem to be saying ATX here, but Laz, you're thinking Acid. Do you want to give your insight into that first?
So, first of all, this is all predicated on the fact that Acid is able to bring their top lineup, which I know they've had problems
True,
with.
fair.
So that's the first hey, if Acid doesn't bring the people they need to, it's not going to happen. But so a couple players they have that I think they got mid-season really helped them out and will help them in this matchup. First off, Tom, one of the best European players in the league, bar none. Maybe you'd want to put Junko above him, probably Nogel, but like he's up there in that top 5 for sure. And the 2 other players I'd want to mention are Gog, who they got from XP, who's a actually newcomer this season, who's been doing really well.
Yes.
Very good cart player. And the last player I would add would be Lumi. And
Lumi's an experienced player. He plays in like other leagues for other games too.
Mm-hmm. He was also on ARC for about, I think, 4 or 5 seasons, and they were always a top 3 or top 2 finisher. And he spent his latter seasons kind of bouncing around from Phoenix here, and now he's on Acid. So I think that experience will eventually win out, even though ATX has some very strong players like Toshiro, who's an absolute menace with the snipers.
Mm-hmm.
I just think the experience will come out on top for Acid if they get their players, which, And yeah, that's my spiel.
What do you think in C2? Let me just walk over Lat real quick. What do you think in C2?
Yeah.
I'm thinking ATX. ATX has improved a lot. Another new team. I've played against a couple of them. They play a bunch of pubs. You guys have probably seen them a lot.
One of the most active teams this season, for sure.
So much. Yeah, absolutely. And they've just improved so much. And like you said, Laz, if Acid doesn't really have their top lineup, I don't know. It's really difficult. Because if they don't bring their top lineup, ATX definitely has a chance. But Acid does have a lot of experience with all of their players that they have. But I'd still have to put ATX just because of all the work that they've been putting in and how strong they are this season, especially being a new team.
Are you kind of in the same mindset, Lat, with this matchup? You said ATX there.
Yeah, well, I mean, Laz is right. It's definitely it definitely depends on what team Acid brings. Because if Acid does bring their top team, then I think it would probably go Acid's way. But I've been in a lot of Acid negotiation threads this season, and they have such a hard time pulling a roster together.
Right.
And especially after John left and bailed on them, they've been struggling. That's why they have GOG, because XP was struggling this season also, and they forfeit out. And I knew that there were other teams that were forfeiting some, and I wanted to see if this team that already forfeit out, if maybe we could salvage some of if they have any players that were active that wanted to keep playing, that we could maybe put on one of these other teams that's potentially going to forfeit out, just to give them some forfeit insurance. And so that's how Acid has GOG, which I think GOG is a really good player, and he can make a difference for him. So yeah, it depends on who Acid brings, but as far as consistency goes, I would say ATX probably been more consistent this season. So yeah, I went with ATX.
And went with ATX for the same reason, but I had that thought of what if Acid brings their top lineup, Laz? And despite all that, I think even with Acid's top lineup, ATX has a shot. It's obviously not a great one because individual player experience alone can make a lot of ground, especially in this tier. Even outside of like team cohesion or anything like that. But ATX is a great example of that classic, like first season improvement, kind of logarithmic, sharp increase in quality and skill that happens with a lot of teams where a lot of the people maybe have played the game with each other before, but they've never played in league. And as soon as you have one season's worth of experience, by the end of that first season, your cohesion as a team and knowledge of what to do and where to go rapidly changes. And like it's hard to base any early season performance from ATX to kind of use that as an example for how you think they're going to play now. Whereas with Acid, if a lot of this is depending on their roster, on their individual players' ability, which is kind of like none of us are on either of these teams, obviously. But that's kind of like what I'm thinking. Their performance during the season could be pretty indicative of how they're going to do even now, whereas ATX might have something up their sleeve, and that's why I went with ATX here. It's just that consistency in improvement, and maybe this will be their next best improvement yet. Goose, now that we've gone over a lot of these, what's your prediction here?
All right, so I decided to go with the new guys. I'm picking ATX. I think that you're spot on, Gollum, that their improvement over the entire season, like I was unsure about them at the beginning, like I had faith in them like doing well, but like seeing how much they have improved over the season has just been amazing as a new team, and that's why I'm picking them to win against Acid. And again, there is that thought of like if Acid brings their top lineup, they could win, but again, they've had such problems bringing a lineup regardless. So I'm picking ATX to win this.
Fair enough. Any final thoughts for this matchup before we move on to the last of the round one for Walker Tier?
I think that one is one of the more interesting matchups in the Walker quarterfinals. Definitely. Yeah.
So that being said, Jester versus Emu, the last one for round one in Walker. It seems pretty unanimous here that we're all going for Jester. Why'd we all choose Jester here, Lat?
Emu is just they've been around for a while, but I'm not sure what their level of commitment to busting out of Walker Tier or how much time they put in practicing as a team or developing individual skills, stuff like that. They always seem to like finish lower end of Walker, and no difference this season. They have a tough time winning matches, and Jester this season has sort of been up and down, winning and losing, and they've just, I don't know. I base it purely off historically where Emu's finished, and it's typically been towards the bottom. Jester this season's been up in spinner tier, I think, for a couple cycles or so. So I haven't really gotten to watch many matches this season. So I haven't seen any Jester matches or Emu matches, but I just know that Jester has been higher in the rankings this season. So I think they'll pull this one out.
Fair enough. Laz, excuse me, the other La.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts here?
We can just call it Ginger 1 and Ginger 2.
Right, Ginger 2 then.
Okay. But so I picked Jester over Emu, but to kind of give a little bit of a preamble for Emu, is they're the only other Aussie team in League. And the only other team they would have to really scrim would be Styx, who is definitely a Dasher tier team.
Mm-hmm.
So I think a lot of the reason for why they've historically always placed lower is they can't really find practice with other teams that often. And then also another thing is the public lobbies. There's always been kind of a power creep where the U.S. lobbies are a lot stronger than the European, and especially for the Aussie and like Asian America lobbies. But I picked Jester over Emu. They have played before, and it was a 2-0 for Jester. They pre-checked on the payload, and then the quarry was a 1-0 25-minute slog. And one of their players, Quantum Mania, got 94 kills on the quarry.
What?
Which I may or may not be record. I've seen 80s before. I just thought that's a fun fact. I've never seen 90s before.
That is
Corey,
a fun fact.
I'm pretty sure Classic Scout used to get 90 or up to 100 on Corey back before staplers were destroyed.
I bet
he loved to get staplers on that map.
My beloved.
But yeah, a little caveat to me saying like Emu is always sort of down there. Laz is totally right. You know, this is one of the things that's so great about Southern Cross is that they're also an APAC team, which, you know, the limited pub servers, and every single time they scram or have a match, they have to do home servers. And, 50% of what Emu and Southern Cross get to play are, they're pinging at like 250, 300, that sort of stuff. So they definitely have a tough time of it. But yeah, I'm still going with Chester.
C2, your thoughts?
Sorry. Yeah. So
it was collecting the thoughts, right? Gathering them in a basket.
From his nap every time we say C2, he wakes up and he's like,
picking them up off the floor.
Sorry. But no, I was talking to Jonius a little bit ago, the captain of Jester, if I'm correct. He told me that Jester was just supposed to be like this fun team. A bunch of friends that played together. Wasn't really supposed to be all serious.
He picked Emu, didn't he?
You know. Jester actually came out as a pretty strong team, considering Jonius was telling me that they weren't really trying to take League too seriously. I don't know if that's changed in the past a little bit, but Jester's I've always seen as a pretty solid walker, maybe even like low to high sprinter team. But I'm excited to see that matchup, especially with the ping differences that Emu and Jester are going to have. It'll be fun to watch.
One thing I know about Jester, just talking to them over these forfeits, and like I was saying earlier with XP forfeiting and me trying to find places for players, I included Jester in that conversation about we could get you some players for insurance and whatever. And Jonius was always pretty much against it. Like he would have accepted a player just because I asked him to or whatever, but he's pretty much against it because he wants to keep that roster small, which I think is the most, if you can get active players who will show up, then you want to have as small a roster as you can, because, if you only have 5 core people that are taking all the playing time, then those 5 people are going to work much better together. But if you're having to shift in and out 12 different people, then it takes a lot more time to become a harmonious team and work well together and learn your role and where you fit in on the team and all that stuff. So Joni is going about it in the right way there, but you still need your people to show up more often, Joni is. so.
Damn right. So my thoughts on this is that I didn't know that about Jester C2. That's a good point that you added in there, but I kind of have like an amalgamation of a lot of the points that y'all have put here. That a big thing with Emu that unfortunately has held them back is that they're one of 2 APAC teams, one of them being pretty consistently a Dasher team. Where in Dasher that Southern Cross team's places is up in the air, but as a result of that, it's pretty often that Emu ends up seeming like the feeder team to Southern Cross. Not that that's like an intentional thing, but like if you're a good APAC player, the reality is that in this scene, if you're playing competitively, you play on Southern Cross, not on Emu. And Jester is, not one of only 2 teams in its area. It's in fact like started with a group of people in the same mindset, evidently, and that has a huge effect on how the team is going to perform. A lot of these Emu players have been on their team for a while, but if we're talking about like a team's ability to improve over a season and like get good, the team that has just started and has won matches against multiple sprinter teams, Jester, is going to have my vote here as the one to take this match. If Emu has pulled out something surprising before, like despite all that, the quarry going on for so long and just being 1-0, it is honestly surprising to me, and maybe they can pull something out here, but I'm voting Jester on this one. Goose,
Right.
your thoughts?
So, I'm just looking at Jester's lineup right now, and I think Jonius has done an excellent job as being the captain and the leader. He's a really solid player himself, but I think he's done a great job of assembling. Lat, I think you said that just assembling that core group and just playing together and getting experience. So I think Jester is going to take this, and again, nothing against Emu, but I think that you're right in the sense that the APAC teams, everybody goes to Southern Cross who has that skill level, and Emu I see as more of like the has fun playing the game but doesn't have time to practice or what have you.
Right.
Or even the opportunity to practice.
Right, exactly.
True, yeah.
So I think Jester's going to take this.
Mm-hmm. That being said, we want to move on to the round 2 picks for Walker. Let's
do it.
Let's start on the right side. So these round 2, we'll get to the left side. Y'all obviously know who's going to be there based on a lot of our picks, but the right side, we all are pretty confident that Sky and Ajax are going to go head to head, and it's almost ironic that two teams that we all agree are pretty misplaced are going to end up fighting for the chance at the finals before the finals.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
The two teams that would, I mean, anybody correct me if you disagree, we think would both have the most likely chance of making finals. So why did we all say Sky here? You want to start out, Lat?
Well, Sky is... Ajax can bring a really strong lineup, but I don't think Ajax has consistently brought that strong lineup to their matches. So, I mean, this, Ajax could surprise, but Sky is just, I think through the season, we've probably faced, well, I don't know. I know Ajax has spent a little bit of time at Dasher, so I don't know about overall strength of schedule, but I would say Sky has definitely beaten tougher opponents than Ajax has. And because Sky has had a tough schedule this season. We lost to a bunch of Dasher teams, as would be expected. But we won every single game that we were supposed to win. Even some where it was like pretty even. Yeah, Goose, go ahead.
Didn't we scrim Ajax a couple of times, or at least once?
Yeah, I don't know if they ever brought their
they're like game day lineup.
I'm for sure I haven't played against Laggy and Inept at the same time.
Laggy and Inept are pretty much just match players. They don't really scrim anymore.
Got it.
Yeah, well, Laggy was there for one of the scrims, I think. But yeah, so I'm pretty sure we beat them pretty easily in the scrimmages, but I think they can bring a stronger team than what they brought to the scrimmages. So we'll just have to see.
Right.
I mean, I'm kind of the same mindset that I would think it's fairly lineup dependent here, but just based on performance history, if we want to just compare one instance here of a matchup that both Sky and Ajax share, midnight is kind of the cross point, 12 a.m. A team that's in Sprinter that we'll get to later. Sky has won 2 maps to 1 against 12 a.m., whereas 12 a.m. took 2 maps to nothing against Ajax. Granted, that was in cycle 1, but if we're a lot of what I'm doing with a lot of these teams is my assumptions based on their lineups, but also their performance against the same teams if they haven't, if the two matched teams haven't played each other
Their
much.
head-to-head
And
matchups, yeah.
on that alone, that seems to give me a sign that Sky has somewhat of an edge here. And I would think that with Lat organizing some things, like you said, never underestimate the power of Lat to fuck something up. But you would think that it kind of depends on if Sky is bringing their A game that day or Ajax is. Like, it's very up in the air, but I think Sky has that more a potential for consistency here, that they will bring what they need to bring to win this match. I think it's going to be a close one, though.
I brought up the matchups that you said, that cross match, that team we both played. So
12 a.m.
12 a.m. pre-checkpointed Ajax and beat them, I think, 3-1 on Waterway. And Sky, we pre-checked 12 a.m. and then there was a close 3-2 on Waterway. That was actually the one that ended in sudden death. I'm looking at the time now; it's 25:37. That one went to sudden death.
Yeah,
and they pulled out the sudden death on us. And then we crushed them in Stadium. So yeah, if that's the cross match and we're comparing, making comparisons that way, then Sky has the upper hand there. But actually, let me see real quick. Let me see what roster Ajax brought to that match, and that was also their first match of the season.
So that's what I mean with the early season. It can be kind of like,
yeah,
it's a little up in the air if that's like potential for comparison, because early season is so different from late season for every single team.
Yeah, Ajax could definitely bring a better roster than they brought to that 12 a.m. match as well. So yeah, that'll be an interesting matchup for sure. I think we probably all agree that's the most interesting matchup in the whole Walker tier. This time on.
And then you just brush some dust off your shoulders after that statement a little bit.
I mean, that's the semifinals, but it feels like that should have been the finals.
Right. So any final thoughts about this matchup?
You didn't let me go. That's my
Well, go ahead, dude.
So yeah, my only note I wrote was the 12 a.m. crossover, which, thank you, Gollum.
You're welcome for stealing your thunder.
But I think it could go either way. But the main reason I put Sky is I think the main difference between these two teams is consistency. Is despite the fact that they both have pretty strong, I would say, high sprinter lineups at their best, Sky has been able to bring that more consistently, and they've been able to utilize it a little bit better. So I think Sky will win, but I think if Ajax brings their absolute A game, they could pull it out.
And speaking of exciting matchups, we've also got on the left side Jester versus the team that was chosen in the bottom left, I will say. ATX for three of us, Acid for Lazarus.
Known as Laz.
Right. So since we're talking about it, Laz, we're all at least on the same page that we think the bottom left winner is going to beat Jester here. Now, what was going through your mind, Laz, as to why you think Acid would take Jester after beating ATX?
They're the same reasons why I think Acid. The same reason as why Acid would beat ATX, they would beat Jester, is they have that experienced lineup. They do have Tom, one of the best European players. They do have Lumi. They have GOG, and I think that what would come out on top is just the higher level of individual skill and experience.
I kind of have a similar thoughts about that Jester versus ATX lineup. That I feel like the result of ATX versus Acid is a much better indicator of the next winner than the winner of Jester versus Emu is. Just unfortunately, for all the reasons that we talked about in Jester versus Emu, I think that's just not, that result of assuming Jester wins is not as indicative of what the team is bringing to the table in the next match as, say, ATX beating Acid by playing well. And if they play well in that first match, they're probably going to play well in the next one too, because this is playoffs. This is it, baby. And that's why I think ATX is going to take this too. Are you thinking?
I think,
yeah. So
go
ahead.
I think, you know, I went with ATX again also for basically the same reason I picked ATX to beat Acid. Was they've, you know, I think they've probably been able to be more consistent through the season, getting a lineup together and even showing up. So I don't know that Jester or Acid will get to bring that top lineup that they want to bring to the playoffs. And that's where I think ATX will get to capitalize. I'm not even sure if, again, I have not watched many matches this season, haven't had time, but I don't even know really if both teams do bring top lineup, which team would win out on that, ATX or Jester. I think it'd probably be pretty close. ATX with Toshiro probably leading the way for them. He might be the strongest player between the two teams. So anyway, that one will be one of the more interesting matchups, I think. Also, that was a hard one for me to pick.
C2?
I'm not gonna lie, ATX is a very scary team. I've seen
Dude, I
these
was about to
guys.
say, I'm not gonna lie, I was taking a nap. I thought that
Nah,
was coming.
Wow, you have no faith in me to stay awake, dude. At this point, dude.
You just take so much time to respond. I keep imagining you like sitting up on the couch, like, oh shit, yeah, I'm doing this thing.
Oh man. But no, ATX is a very scary team. I've seen their whole team play shotguns. I've seen them play shocks, rockets, SMGs, snipers. I've seen them play it all. And I think that it's all very map dependent on what map they'll be playing. Because what was I gonna say? Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, because so they like ATX has a very interesting style of play. And I think it'll definitely mess Jester up and it'll confuse them a good bit if they play this way, or even Acid, whichever one they play. So I just picked ATX because they've just improved so much and their play style is definitely much different from other teams and you just don't expect it.
Goose?
Yeah, so I'm gonna go away from the crowd, and I think that Jester is gonna pull this out. I think that Jonius as well as Duxel, Duxel has been around for a while, and I think them both will kind of carry their team along with Cosine. Cosine is a new player, but I think Cosine has been doing some great work. And a Reacher's in there too, and K-Bomb. So I think that if and again, this is dependent if Jester can get their full lineup, their best lineup. But I think that they could take this, and I'm gonna pick them.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And so I don't think this will be a super long convo, but Walketeer finals. We're all in agreement about Sky, about that one for a lot of the reasons we've already covered, I assume.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look, we've all said that like a lot of these teams have solid lineups here, and good potential, and like ATX has improved a lot. Jester has some pretty solid leadership here. Acid has, based on their player roster, some good potential, but Ajax or Sky in the finals, they've just, literally speaking, they're in a different tier. They have played in a different tier than many of these teams for most, if not all, of the season. And that makes a huge difference. Not just like the skill of your players, but the skill of who you play against consistently. And yeah, I don't think we have any illusions here that unless some miracle happens, the winner of Ajax versus Sky probably going to take this. And we all seem to think it's Sky.
Yeah.
Not that the two of these people aren't biased or anything like that, of course.
Well, you better think it's Sky, and I'll pay you guys all after
Right.
the
Well,
podcast.
that also Sky has 4 seasons of experience over ATX, where ATX is
Right.
a new team. I
Right.
put Acid, but it's the same logic.
Mm-hmm. So that being said, we can move on to Sprinter tier.
Well, hold on.
We're not gonna have third place?
Yeah,
That's a good point. I didn't write third place. Only
about-
one of us did write that.
I was
Yeah,
the only
let's-
person that did the extra credit. I
Right.
hope I get a gold star.
You get a golden egg.
Yeah.
Yay.
So tell us about your third place pick, Les.
Well, it's the same logic as the winner of the whole entire tier. Is that whoever loses the Sky Ajax match would probably take third place against whoever, whether it's Acid or ATX, for the same reasons.
Yeah. Is there anyone that disagrees with that?
No.
All right, moving on.
Yeah.
All right.
We
All
all agree
right.
for the same reasons, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let me get Sprinter loaded up here. I know.
Drum roll.
That
Wait,
was a drum roll, but I thought someone
no,
would
we've
open your
got.
door
Oh wait, no,
first.
that's never mind. I was gonna just give a
All
little
right.
bit of a here. Let me just.
Well, while Gollum's figuring that out, we have
Here
this.
we go. All right, here
All
we
right.
go.
Anyways, okay. So starting on the bottom right, we have Supernova versus Iron, and so three of us who've written this sheet seem to be saying Iron here. I can only assume, though, based on my experience, based on C2 choosing Supernova here, that we all think this is going to be a pretty close, exciting matchup to watch. C2, you want to go off on that first?
Yeah, I just want to say I'm ashamed of you guys for doubting Supernova. Okay, I was on Supernova, and they're a great team. All right, Bush definitely is a great Rocketeer, no doubt in my mind, and Supernova has improved a bunch. And I love Iron, Laz. I love you. Okay, but I just don't agree. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say.
Yep, that's your story, and you're sticking to it.
I forgot all
Yep.
about SPNV having C2, but they don't have you now, man.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't have you now, man.
I still have faith in them. They don't need me.
I think,
Fair enough.
unfortunately, this is just like the last tier, except it got held to the semifinals. This is a Sprinter tier finals matchup in the first round. Unfortunately, I think, and I, I think Iron will take this one. I think they probably have the stronger starting five overall. I mean, when you got Laz, you got Shout, you got Four, just those three right there are going to bring a lot of heat. And, SPNV they have a solid team to push back there on the Rockets and all that. But I don't know. I think when Iron's clicking, it's going to be tough for SPNV to take them over. But I do think this will be a close match, might be a stadium match. So that would be awesome to see.
That, and you may not have realized it, but I think that's the key here. If Iron is clicked in for this, they've had, especially this season, quite the up and down history in performance, in consistency, and a lot of their top roster and their potential top roster is pretty solid. All of them seem to have decent cohesion as players and like the skill among them to get this done, but will they be able to bring that on game day? I think that is the huge question here. Supernova, to me, honestly, as much as I like Iron, as much as I even think Iron will take it, has been the more consistent team in my view and my experience with some of these matches.
They also beat Iron 2 cycles
and
ago.
and they've
I was
beaten
gonna bring
Iron.
that up. I was gonna bring that up.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna bring that up, that I'm looking at the history, and Supernova did 2-0 Iron. It was a close match. It was 90% to 86%, and then 2-1 on Volcano, but they did get the edge there, Supernova.
Well,
Yeah.
Laz, Gollum's calling you out. You gonna bring it, dude? He says if you don't bring it, it's
Here,
all over, bro.
Yeah, Laz, go ahead.
I'm in chicken right now. Give me like 5 seconds.
Okay, he's got a little smiley face on his Iron.
I did.
We
Well,
can get to the Iron bias now.
The reason why I put the smiley face is Supernova, based on track record, should win it. I can't manifest me losing though, so I can't put Supernova as the winner.
That's
True.
fair.
You need to manifest
Right.
happy thoughts. So that's why the smiley face, for happy thoughts.
Manifesting, perfect.
But yeah, and this will probably go on. Whoever does win Supernova Iron, you can trade each other out for the rest of the matchups, and they'll probably stay the same. But yeah, I mean, we'll see if we can bring it. Maybe, maybe not. It's been a rough season though.
Mm-hmm.
We agreed to blame Joseph though, or Four.
Yeah,
So please
sounds
send him your
good.
hate mail. I'll get Goose to post his address on screen tomorrow.
Mhm.
I was just gonna ask
Any
you-
hate mail you're not sending to Lat, you can CC 4 into it.
Exactly.
I was going to ask you if you guys lose, which brother's fault is it? But you answered that for us. It's Four's fault, guys.
When is it not For's fault? That's the stupid question.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It was a very stupid question. I apologize for that.
So, moving on to the next matchup. In the top right, Limbo versus Undog. This is our first decidedly split vote. So, C2 and I both think Limbo's going to take this. It looks like Lat and Laz are voting Undog. Before we get into it, Goose, what do you think? Who do you think is going to take this match before we talk about it?
See, here's the thing. Here's the thing. At the beginning,
we're going to yell at you either way, just so you know.
At the beginning of the season, I made a list, and I will publish this list after finals. But I made a list of where I thought that every team would end up, based on the beginning of the season. If
a Dash League time capsule, if you will.
Yeah. But if Underdog would have had their original lineup going into this matchup, I would have picked Underdog. But because they got so messed up by roster lock, I'm gonna have to pick Limbo. I think Limbo has the experience, and they're the older team. And Underdog, again, they just got so messed up during roster lock. I don't think they've had time to recover and get their lineup solidified. So I think Limbo's gonna end up taking this.
You know what, Goose? That's a good point, because I was going off of
Sky, they lost Max.
Well, yeah, Sky had scrimmaged Undog one time, and I was thinking, again, I haven't watched a lot of matches, and their players are mostly new, and I just haven't seen them. And I think they were in Walker tier at the time they scrimmed us, and so I was like, okay, well, this will be an easy. In fact, I think that's the scrimmage where I told the guys, let's get a team that, from Walker, that we won't be so stressed about having to win. We will expect to win, and we could focus on practicing on the thing we want to practice on, instead of worrying about getting the win and getting our stats up and proving something or whatever. Let's find a team we know we'll beat and practice on something. And they gave us a fucking run.
Yeah,
it was a tough scrim.
On Canyon, I think
so that was before roster lock.
Yeah, we made it to 100%, and they made it to 80 something. So it's they were tough, and they got effed over by the roster lock.
Yeah, so if I was thinking about that, I might have gone with Limbo, though. But I got Underdog on the sheet.
And that's not to say that Undog won't be good contenders in this match.
It'll be close.
Clearly,
I think.
Yeah, we all believe that this will be close. But C2, where's your mind at with this? He's got to reconnect to the mainframe. There we go.
Listen. Shut up. I've seen Underdog improve a lot, and they've impressed me so much with how much they've been working. But I think Limbo just has more experience overall. And I think that is just what will give them the win. Like you guys were saying, roster lock really, cucked them. So I'm just going to have to give that win to Limbo. But no doubt in my mind, it'll definitely be a really good match between both teams.
I also agree. I chose Limbo because the question really is it almost seems like it's Limbo's game to lose, in my opinion. That Undog, after getting cannibalized by the roster lock so much, has been basically playing catch up in terms of coordination. And they've been catching up, I can say, based on their performance. But have they made it to the point where they can actually take this match against Limbo? So far, I don't think so. I think Limbo with their top lineup is actually going to catch some W this season against Undog. And probably if I'm going to make a hard prediction now, I think Limbo's going to take a very close 2-0 map victory. I don't think it's going to make it to control point here, to be honest. I think Limbo's going to bring the coordination today, and Undog would seriously surprise me if they take this match. So, any other thoughts here, Laz?
Oh yeah, I never talked.
You talked just enough for me. Anyways, moving on. Okay. Yeah, go ahead. Ha! All right, there he goes. He'll be back in. There we go.
As the rage quitter.
Right,
We all
right.
know that's his style.
I forgot I had to be dragged back in.
Okay,
But
so you were saying.
So I do agree with you, Golem, that I think Limbo is more coordinated overall. But I played with Underdog in a lot of pubs. They have a player named Firefox Dust who's really, really good, especially for a newcomer. I think they're just going to be able to outkill Limbo and make it a 2-0. I think if it did go to a control point, Limbo would probably win on coordination.
Fair enough. Any final thoughts here?
Not for me.
All right, moving on. Moving right along, we have Hacks versus 12 a.m. Now, this is a pretty unanimous vote for us here. Let me just speak for all of us for a sec, and then you can all speak for yourselves and tell me how wrong I am. If I am, I think we all know and like all the players on Hacks, but it's kind of similar to what we talked about with Emu in some sense. Hacks, it's not like Hacks is a feeder team in the same sense that I at least seem to think Emu is for because Hacks is an EU team. There's more EU players than there are Aussie players, but a lot of their roster, as far as I'm aware, has changed over the seasons. They've had some pretty consistent middle tier of Walker playing ability, and meanwhile 12 a.m. completely new team is like trying to be an org for multiple other games. Clearly they have the passion and the drive behind their players, and they must have the availability and the regularity of their play, and I think that's going to carry them on. I've seen some of their games that look almost like aggressively coordinated depending on who they're matched up against. And that's why I have to choose 12 a.m. here for taking this win. Les?
Oh, I thought you'd pass it off to me, not just say my name.
No, let me just say it after a long awkward pause real quick.
Right, but another thing to note is that 12 a.m. spent about half their season in Dasher, and they played against Dasher teams. And I don't think they beat any Dasher teams, but it was not a Dasher team playing a Sprinter tier team.
They did take a Volcano 3-0 in 3.5 minutes against Southern Cross.
Exactly. I'm sure they had server advantage.
US server or not, that's still crazy. That's a Dasher team.
Yes. So 12 a.m. they've been playing at this higher level. They have Sugarcane Lindy who played on Berserk last season, who was a Dasher tier team player, so he was able to bring that experience, bring that just raw killing ability to his team, and that has led to overall better leadership. With Hacks, I believe they're the only mainly European team left. There used to be FR and some other teams, but they've kind of died out. Mm-hmm. And so, if you are European, your only option is either join Hacks or try and join an American team. And so overall, Hacks has just kind of slowly lost players to these US teams if they reach that higher level. Which is like Satan Slayer, for example. Mm-hmm. She's been on Hacks for a while, and eventually she's moved over to Styx, which is a very bizarre choice, but
across the entire world, yeah.
400 ping is an experience. But yeah, 12 AM has the passion, they have the drive, and they have the players to just absolutely dominate this match.
Lat?
Well, I went for these based on personal experience scrimmaging the two teams. Actually, I haven't scrimmaged Hacks. Hacks was the first match that I played on Sky when I joined them Cycle 3. And it just, they were not as tough to us as playing 12 a.m. was. So, and like Laz was saying, 12 a.m.'s faced harder competition this season and has done better against harder competition than Hacks has. So I think this one's a pretty easy call.
Fair enough. I'm looking at that Hacks versus Sky match. You got between two CPs, Lat, 123 kills, dude. You need to relax. Let me just add that little note in there. But Hacks did take the Volcano 3-1 against you guys.
Yeah, they dominated.
That was what I was looking at.
Me and Golem commented.
So that was you guys all know how Volcano has to be played a little bit differently than other dominations.
Yes.
And Sky did not know how to play that one quite yet. We went with a strat, but we did not get time to practice it and make sure people were fulfilling their roles and stuff like that. So that one was a disappointment. But yeah, I think we lost them out to 12 a.m. too, but they're just. I think that we lost Waterway. Say what?
That was a lot closer. Wasn't it 3-2?
Yeah, right. We talked about it earlier. That's right. It was the Waterway that went to sudden death. Yeah, I think we had a particular weakness in our volcano when we went up against hacks that they exploited that I didn't realize was going on and couldn't call in the middle of the game. What sort of audible to play to fix that, and I think that's because that was my first match with them. Everyone was new with like how we're communicating and calling it, even like how Volcano's supposed to get played because we didn't get a lot of time to go over it. So yeah, that one. If we played them that same map at the end of the season, we would have crushed on that. So it was just yeah.
Yeah.
C2, Goose.
C2 activate.
There we go.
Okay.
Goose.
So, I mean, just from commentating on a lot of Hex matches, it's not that they're bad. I just think that 12 a.m.
Okay, C2. What do you think?
Midnight is going to take this pretty handedly. But I think it will be a good match. I think that Hex will give them a run, but I think Midnight's going to take it.
And C2.
Yeah, shout out to my homies Hacks. I love him. Ali, he's a carry. I love him. But Sugar's just been doing such a great job with 12 a.m. And I had no faith that he would put his own team together and do as good as he did. I just didn't believe him.
Yeah, to be honest, me neither, man. He seriously surprised me too.
Yeah, it's like he put together this team and they are doing work on these players. And it's really impressive. So I'm excited to see how well they do in these Sprinter finals, I'm not going to lie.
So, that being said, the last of the round 1 matchups in Sprinter, we have Fire versus Rook. So, this one, 3 of us seem to be disagreeing with Laz here, but I think this one's also pretty up in the air for a variety of reasons. Do you want to start us off, Laz?
Yeah, so I'm a facts man.
Right. Numbers guy.
Also, my first season was on Fire, so...
Oh, okay. We got a bit of history here. And Fires, are they mostly EU or are they entirely EU nowadays?
I haven't been on that team in 4 years. I have no clue.
I don't.
They used to be mainly European. I think they're still mainly European, but they might have an American player.
Yeah, I think they are like 90% European.
I know they're not full Euro, but there's like they're mainly Europeans. It's just a ratio thing. But the main reason I chose Fire, aside from that, is that they actually 2-0'd Rook early in the season. It wasn't even a close control point. So I put with a close payload, but it was a 3-0 domination.
Yeah, I did see that.
So just looking at the stats, I think Fire will take it, but we'll see.
Okay, and C2?
I'm going to have to go with Rook on this one. I've watched a lot of Rook's matches, and I haven't watched many Fire matches. I know Fire's definitely a really good team, and I'm happy to see them inside Sprinter this season. But
well, they were almost Dasher, unless
right.
I remember that, but I'm still going to have to stick with Rook on this one. They've just been doing really good this season. Again, very going to be a good match. I'm excited to watch it. Probably one of my, more favorite matches to watch this season. But yeah, that's what I gotta say.
Understood. Lat?
Yeah, this is another one that was tough for me because I haven't watched a lot of matches. I did watch the Rook versus Sky match. That was the one right before the Hacks match. The Rook match was the one I had to sit out for switching teams. So I didn't get to play against Rook. Then I sat there and watched Lobster Master decimate Sky in the jelly room.
Lobster Master seems like a lead from the front type of player based on scoreboards and such.
Say what? Lobster?
It's definitely a lead from the front type player.
You talking about Lobster?
Yes, Lobster.
Yes, Lobster.
Oh, yeah.
Lobster.
Yeah, well, Laz, y'all both talked at the same time. I didn't get what either one of you said.
Sounds like not my problem. You have 2 ears for a reason. Like,
right.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that. But yeah, I saw what Lobster Master's capable of doing as far as like just shutting a team down, and so I kind of went with them. I looked at Fire's sort of schedule through the season, and they've had a pretty easy schedule, and a couple of their wins are forfeit wins that sort of raised their SR up a little bit to get them some higher rankings, and so I think Rook might be the stronger team, but we'll see. If I already beat them earlier in the season, then maybe so. Maybe how early in the season was that? Was that really early or was that late in the season?
I'm pen and paper. I did not write that down.
I can
Rook
check
has had
on
time
that.
to pick it up.
Here, hold on.
Yeah, I have that.
Cycle
I have
2.
that page open.
Cycle 2.
The most
2,
recent
yeah.
cycle.
So
The most recent cycle 2, the most recent. Yeah.
most recent in Lazarus's
February
brain. He's in the
10th.
past. Right. So
yesterday.
So I chose Rook because taking a look at their performance history against various teams, even like not if you just look at the scoreboard name order for Rook, it is the same core 4 players and they have their 5th. And those same 4 are in a pretty stable, similar position for each map type. And that alone indicates to me a consistency in strategy and in sticking to that strategy with the best chance to win, whatever the team thinks that may be. With Fire, they've got players like Gela Arthur who are pretty experienced, and Chiron as well, who's a pretty solid player, and I think they have a decent chance of taking this match. But just knowing what I know about Lobster Master and what she can bring to the table with rockets, and just raw killing ability alone, having that experience in a leadership position as well, and leading her team Rook in that way, I think is going to give Rook the edge in this matchup. That's why I voted for them here. Goose, what's going through your mind after hearing us talk about this?
So, Lobster Master and Humbles.
Yes.
I think that their rockets are going to be the deciding factor in this match. I think that they'll take the payload via the rockets alone, because their rocket abilities, I know when Sky played them, they shut us down completely with those rockets. So I think if they can bring that same energy and that same killing ability, I think that they'll take the payload. I don't think they'll take the domination, but I think that they'll come back and win the
control point.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
The control point.
I got you. And so that all being said, let's return to the right side of the bracket here. We've got our first vote, either Emdubs or Limbo, versus Iron, or in C2's case, Supernova. So why... I feel like this is just going to be a similar conversation to like the Sky versus Ajax discussion we had about the Walker tier, but all of us are saying that our bottom right pick is going to move on to the finals here. And why, Laz? Let's start with you. Are you saying that Iron is going to take one over on Undog?
Well, so I think both Supernova and Iron are low dasher tier teams. And with Underdog and Limbo, they're just going to get outclassed, regardless of which team is playing. Just the skill, the experience, the killing ability. Iron played Limbo earlier this season. Was a little bit of a stomp. So I think whatever team ends up playing, is the bottom right's killing ability will just be so overwhelming that there's not really anything the top right team can do about it.
That was pretty much my mindset too with this.
Yeah.
Goose, you too?
Yeah, I completely agree.
That like coordination, team play aside, like just the experience of who these teams have played against, I think is going to play a huge factor here. Lat, your thoughts?
I mean, there's that, but at it's also just pure killing ability. Like Iron is going to outkill Underdog. They're going to outkill Limbo. SP and V would have 2 if they were the team to advance. Like I said earlier, it's like that. That's the finals matchup right there at that first matchup, SP and V and Iron. So pretty sure everyone is just all on board with whoever won that one was going to be in the finals for sure.
Now I'll want to get back to that statement later, but regardless, C2, your thoughts before we move on from here?
I mean, it's the exact same as you guys. Even though it's a different team, it's literally the same lineup. Like, Supernova's just going to just completely outkill Limbo. Just same thing.
Yeah, fair enough. So moving on to the left side, we've got Rook, for most of us, of course, versus 12 a.m. All of us seem in agreement that 12 a.m. is going to be the one to take the win here. And I assume for a lot of you, let's start with C2. That's just because of the reasons that we think that 12 a.m. is going to take the match versus Hex, right? That it's kind of a similar scenario where their go-get-'em attitude and how much they've been playing too, their surprising amount of organization and passion is going to carry the day.
Yeah.
C2.
Actually,
Jesus Christ, C2.
I did have a whole monologue. I get
2-3-1 Omega
that.
Theta.
You can be stunned and amazed for just a little bit longer, and then C2.
I'm never going to get invited on this again.
Man.
We're gonna do a blooper reel of awkward silences, and it's gonna be all C2. Top 10 awkward silences.
I swear to God, if I say that.
So you were saying?
But yeah, no, 12 a.m. Sugar's definitely just been really good with 12 a.m. and Rook is not a bad team, but I just think that 12 a.m. just has so much more killing power and objective focus that they'll definitely come out on top.
Yeah. And Goose, your thoughts?
I completely agree. 12 a.m. is just a scary team, and I think that they're just going to overwhelm Rook or Fire, whoever gets in that position.
Lat?
Yeah, I agree. Sugar is a really good System of a Down song. Go listen to it.
Les?
What? Oh, I'm here.
You get your C2 moment.
No, I'm listening. I'm just zoning out.
Right.
But yeah, same.
I was like, I'm not talking. I'm not listening.
I will point out that at least in my view and what I've monologued about so far in this cast, and it's interesting to me that 12 a.m. and Rook seem like two teams that have kind of that passionate leadership involved that really carries the success of the team. Not to discount how much work and the actual performance the individual players on 12 a.m. and Rook bring to the table, but the Lobster Master and Sugar being decidedly the leaders of their team, I think is kind of an interesting factor in how we consider these matchups here.
He didn't say anything about your leadership, Shout. Just saying.
Saying,
bro.
Speaking of Shout's leadership, moving on to the finals, and then we'll get to the third place after that. It seems like our no, I take that back. So 3 of us seem to think Iron's going to take the win here, but C2, I'm interested to hear your thoughts. Why you think 12 a.m. would take the finals against Supernova?
I love Supernova and all, but I think Sugar's amazing internet is just going to completely carry 12 a.m.
Amazing internet.
He's got that laggy Alaskan internet.
Right.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely.
Laggy power.
Mm-hmm. The storm's coming.
I mean, even if it was against Iron, I still feel like the 12 a.m. would definitely have. It'll be a very close game, to say the least. It's hard to really say which team is going to win, because they're all really good teams.
That was kind of my opinion, too, to be honest. I think Iron and Supernova are both respectively the favorites to win here, but I legitimately think 12 a.m. bringing their A game has a good shot at winning finals, not even like a slight shot, like a decent one, based on their performance and their passion here. And like that remains to be seen till we get to the actual finals, but that's my thoughts. I still think that Iron overall will take it, but I wouldn't be super surprised if 12 a.m. just brought something insane here and ended up
Also,
taking the win.
something we haven't mentioned, even for the Walker finals, is these will be 5-game matches, not 3-game
True.
matches.
Yeah, not
That's
not
true.
just best of 3.
So a team's ability to adapt will play more of a factor in these finals compared to other matches.
Mm-hmm.
Continue for Spielbaum. I just wanted to add that.
No, that's a very important factor in how we consider all these. It's not all the exact same. Alat, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it'll be an interesting finals matchup, but I still think Iron's going to overpower 12 a.m. Not only do I think they have better overall killers who've been playing for a longer time, but they've also, they've been playing for a longer time, so they have more experience and all that. They've been here before in the finals. They've played that five map match before. So they've been there, done that. I think they'll be able to do it again. I do want to say, for us, what we're seeing on the screen right now, we're not seeing who Goose has picked, because Goose is going to throw up his ballot up after the show, because he was busy with work and got to join us a little bit late. So Gollum said like 3 of us versus 3 of us got this one, and except for C2. So I'm just like, just so people know, the reason Gollum can't count is because he can't see Goose's ballot.
I mean, you could just leave me in like non-counting realm if you really want to.
Yeah. But Goose, who'd you pick to win the finals?
I think either if Supernova gets there or Iron, I think that they have the slight edge over Midnight. I do think that Midnight is going to put up a really good fight and may win 1 or 2 maps, but I think it'll go to 5 maps, and I think that either Supernova or Iron will overpower them.
Mm. Yeah,
it should be a fun match.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, and then the 3rd place match we get to here. So, starting with Laz, since you're the one who wrote it down helpfully for us, you think Fire is going to take it?
Yes, I do.
And what's that?
I would classify Fire or Rook as a like mid to high sprinter tier team, where Underdog or Limbo, I'd put them towards the lower end. Fire definitely is like, or Brook has better killing depth, better coordination overall, and I think they'll just be able to overpower Limbo or Underdog. I don't think it's super complex.
I'm kind of a similar mind here. Let, you?
So I had Rook versus Underdog for the 3rd place. I would go with Rook, and only because now Goose has reminded me that Underdog's roster got destroyed at the roster. Not destroyed; they still have good players, but they don't have the same power they did before that. So me remembering that now, I'll pick Rook on that one.
Mm-hmm. Goose?
Yeah, same. I'll pick Rook.
C2, your thoughts? 3rd place?
It really does suck that I can't put Supernova, 12 a.m. and Iron all together.
Right.
But it is what it is,
Just in a little round robin.
Yeah, I'm going to have to say Rook.
Understood.
15-player, 3-team finals matches. Make it happen, dude.
Let's just make a new game mode where 15 players.
What is Battle Royale come into this game? I mean,
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You guys want our VRs to explode? Jeez.
So, moving on to Dasher, then.
All right, let me get this loaded up.
Let's go, big games.
Mm-hmm. Big games, big games.
These are going to be fun. You guys hyped for these?
Yeah. I mean, if you can't tell, I think us and the rest of the community, a lot of attention is being paid towards these Dasher teams, and
well, also
that's not unusual for most seasons, but also just because we'll get to it, but we think the finals is pretty contentious here.
Well, also another thing to add is that the whole point of doing this MMR and these cycles and these matches is to find the Dasher Tier champion. Sprinter and Walker are added just to give teams that really can't reach the Dasher tier a thing to fight for. But ultimately, this is the big money here. This is why we play the game.
Right. At the very least, that's why we play the game. I'll add that much.
Well, yeah, that's why it's competitive. You can enjoy it any way you want.
So, starting with the bottom right side, C2, you think Phoenix is going to take one over on Life. Why is that?
I just think that Phoenix has overall better communication and better, like, they're good at playing and bouncing off of each other. Life has more killing power, I will say. But I just think overall Phoenix definitely does have a very good chance of taking this W. And I'm going to go for Phoenix.
Okay. Understandable. Goose, what are your thoughts before we get more into it with Laz, Latin Eye?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Life. I've seen, I get what you're saying, C2, but Life's coordination and killing power, I think, is just going to overpower Phoenix there.
Understandable. So Laz and Lat, you're with me in thinking that Life is going to take this map. One of you guys tell me why you think that is.
Shut the fuck up, Laz.
Okay, I can talk over you. I'm younger. I can talk longer.
Go for it.
I actually don't think this will be a super close match. I think it would be pretty close if Phoenix still had Destroyer, who they lost mid-season. But something to mention is Evil Pancake on Life has never lost a season. He's always won.
It's true. He's a winner. Big W.
He's a winner. But so Life has Evil Pancake, who's easily a top 3 player in the game. They have Castle, who's always been a high level Dasher player, incredibly underrated.
And
always been top 10.
Big on leadership too.
Big on leadership. One of the few IGL players that can actually kill and keep up with that. Usually you see a drop off when anybody has to call comms. They have F2P. C2, you know F2P, right? Activate.
He's kind of a unexpectedly high performer for what little a lot of people seem to know about him.
You know, me, Lat, and C2, we all played with F2P on other. Easily probably the top one. Huh?
What words came out of your mouth?
I'm just telling F2P, you're my boy, Blue. I love F2P.
I got it.
We all love F2P.
Laz does too. F2P is a great player, underrated.
Another thing is, another late edition Life had is a Night Owl. He actually came back and is playing for them.
True.
Top player. Was invited to some of the top teams.
Is he actually playing right now?
That's really good.
According to some people I've talked to,
but I didn't know he's actually playing.
They say he does. I haven't seen him. We'll see.
Here's another thing to keep in mind. I don't mean to jump in here, but Life actually just played Phoenix, so this is actually a rematch. And Life pre-checked them on Abyss, and then 3-0'd them on Quarry.
Who was in for Phoenix? Because I feel like that could be a big
it was
factor. I can only assume that Life had Evil Pancake in
.com,
that map.
Kareem, X626, Hello, Abrackers, and then
was EP playing for Life in that match?
Yeah, he played,
and Willow was in there too, wasn't he?
Yeah. No, Willow was not. It was.
Oh, okay.
It was EP, Owl, Castle, Persona, F2P, and then F2P, Evil Pancake, Castle, Just Drums, and Owl.
Wow, that's quite the lineup.
Yeah.
And Willow's trying not to play as much this season, so he doesn't get most deaths again. So that's probably why he's sat.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have much else to say beyond that, but like personally, I think I could never do that well against Phoenix with their current lineup of people, but losing Destroyer was a huge blow because you really need that. Like .com is a host unto himself and has made that clear season after season as he's continued to improve, but having that second to really follow up and anchor the team in the way that, say, Castle and EP can for Life is a game changer at this tier especially. And that's why I think Life is going to take it here. Is if they can't bring that top lineup that Life seems to have been able to bring pretty consistently, Maybe Phoenix has a shot, but in my opinion, Life is the clear winner here.
For me, it's just based off, again, having played them. We played both of those teams in the same cycle. We played Phoenix first, and we lost, but we did better than what we were expecting to do against Phoenix. So we were actually pretty happy after that match. And then probably, carried that momentum into Life, and we're like, let's see how good we could do against these guys. And Life just kicked the shit out of us.
Yeah, you get your legs broken.
Yeah. Life was, how dare you think that you'd break checkpoint on us, you son of a bitch. So yeah, they were worlds apart. And of course there's great players on both sides, but Life just has they've got more punch in their top lineup overall than Phoenix does. So,
speaking of more punch in their lineup, moving on to the top right, we've got UNSC versus Sith. So this is kind of the flip side, unfortunately, of what we've been talking about in the Walker and Sprinter tier a little bit. Sith, a pretty good team. I mean, they wouldn't be in Dasher if they weren't at least like a mid to high Sprinter tier team. But UNSC is and always has been a top Dasher team. And this season is no different in that respect. They've even been like in contention for like, did they win season 5? I can't remember off the top of my head.
No, they got knocked out in like semis.
Oh, I see. Well, they were in contention for that.
They were in contention for most of
it. I think they were expected to get to finals. It was either there was a lot more mystery that season going in. I think most people figured Envy would win it because they, had multiple.
Right.
They had multiple people paid for, and so they were kind of like, people expected them to win, but then it was like between like UNSC and Phoenix, I think, as to like who's going to get that final spot. And I think a lot of us, I think UNSC was probably winning. If you took a poll, people would have said UNSC by like maybe 60-40 or something, but Phoenix pulled it out and got to the finals there.
A little bit of a different poll result with this season, I think. With the way that UNSC has been playing and what roster they bring to the table. That being said, staying on topic, does anybody have any input here? It seems we're pretty in agreement UNSC is going to take this match.
Yeah,
I don't think that's really a question.
This is a high school senior beating up a kindergartner. It's just
right.
I hope it's not too bloody.
So that being stated, we've got the bottom left side, Sticks versus Control. So, Goose, your thoughts, Sticks versus Control. I want to start with you first.
Control is a super scary team. They've got their coordination down pat. They know what they're doing. I think that the only way that Southern Cross is going to be able to pull this off is if Southern Cross somehow uses the ping advantage to like the best of their ability. Like I don't think this is going to be close at all. Unfortunately, I think that Control is going to get away with this one pretty handedly.
Yeah. Lateralis?
My whole decision was based off whether I think C2 will be playing or not. And my guess is that he won't be.
Are you kidding me?
So I picked Control to move on.
Right.
This is ridiculous. Wow.
Laz?
Yeah, I do think it'll be a little bit closer than what Goose said. Six has some incredible players. They also have a lot of veterans. Most notably of all, Mr. Soap, my favorite person in League. I just want that to be known. But beyond that is Six, despite being that APAC team, not having a lot of time, they don't really scrim either. I think they maybe had one scrim this season. It just goes to show how good of individual players they are and how well they gel together. I could easily see Six taking a map or even 2, especially on their servers if they get the right maps. 6 on Launchpad Sydney is a menace.
Yeah.
They've beaten many teams that are a lot better than them. They've beaten Envy. They've beaten Loop last season. You never want to underestimate 6 on their home server.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was your fault that Loop lost that game last season.
Right, and not yours, Lat.
No, it's Laz's fault with a little sprinkle of not Gollum's fault.
Right, of course.
With a dash of Willow most deaths last
So,
season.
speaking of biased takes, C2, you got some insight here into how you think Control is going to be taking this, since that's who you voted for.
Yeah,
He's
my
gonna
bad.
wake
Sorry.
up from the dead. There we go.
Yeah, my bad. So, honestly, I hate Control. I don't like anybody on that team. They all suck. But
See, that's why you're gonna sit. That's why you guys are gonna lose.
Right.
Or win. I mean, I'm sorry, win.
But we fought Southern Cross a couple times and we came out on top. But whenever they have the server advantage, they are just such a strong team. No doubtably in my mind, very good player. Shout out to Axion, I love her. She's a homie. But whenever we've played them, we've always been the more dominant team. So I'm gonna have to pick Control, even though I don't like anybody on that team. So
Right.
yeah,
of course. And you know, all this being said, honestly, from what I've seen, this is one of Styx's best seasons, best performance seasons, and like in past seasons, they have that reputation of being so skilled on Launchpad, like Laz has mentioned, but like this season they've really brought some strong performances to the table. But Control has played so much with each other and continuously played so well against the tippy top of Dasher teams here, and so that's really why we're putting Control forward, because it's not just a game of playing on US servers or Sydney servers. It's playing on multiple and seeing what you can take out on top. And one map win is not going to win you a best of 3 here. Moving on to the upper left. Same kind of scenario with UNSC versus Sith. We've got Envy versus Wolf. Now, I'm big fans of the Wolf team, and I'm going to come right out the gate talking about that. That I've really liked what Wolf has been doing. I've been an advisor for them throughout the season, along with Willow. And I like seeing them perform well and do well, but this is just not like... This is not a question. Like, Wolf should not be here, or least of all, at least not against Envy of all teams. And anybody got any input here as far as Envy versus Wolf is concerned? Obviously, we're all pretty on the same page here. Envy's going to take this map. It's just a matter of like how much.
I think you hit the nail on the head there.
I'd just like to lament the fact that Wolf, for being a new team, is they did really well this season.
Yeah.
And I do think it is a shame that they're kind of being killed in the crib here, to where they haven't been given a chance to really show who they are against people who they should. And they're going up against Envy, who I think we all agree is easily, not to spoil the boat, but definitely a contender for taking the whole season.
Right.
Yeah, I feel bad for... I mean, Wolf, like Laz said, Wolf has had a good season this season, but they got an unfortunate placement again with these playoff rankings. And I think, Wolf is going to get smacked here against Envy. And I hate for their season to end that way, when they could have been in Sprinter and actually, made a play for the semis there to reach the finals there and get SP and V or Iron up in Dash or something like that where they belong. So unfortunate placement, but that's how it goes. So sometimes, but that's also what that's the reward Envy gets for getting top seed, is they get that easiest matchup there.
I will say, if Wolf as a team survives this into the postseason, they could survive anything. Win or lose, if they stay together after this season, after the way they've performed, and after inevitably what's going to happen in this playoffs, I'm sure we're going to see more out of them in the future. C2?
I hope we will, because Wolf is one of... I think we just have 3 primarily Euro teams right now, right? Hacks.
Fire,
I guess Acid is 50-50 or so. But yeah, Hacks, Fire, Wolf. So I hope those EU teams stick around a little bit more, better than they have been the past few seasons. I would like to keep that region active.
Mhm.
So stick around, Wolf. You guys did great this season. This is an unfortunate matchup, but next season's just around the corner.
C2.
Yeah, Wolf is no doubt in my mind probably one of the strongest newer teams to come around. And it is very unfortunate to see them just get placed up into Dasher like this, because they have been going through Sprinter and Dasher a bunch this season. And Romeo's been telling me how much it sucks, because it's difficult to stay up in Dasher, especially for these newer teams that are coming around fighting these Dasher teams. And it's just difficult. And Wolf has many strong players. I mean, one that really comes to my mind is Noble.
Yeah.
I remember Noble and Other, and Noble is very good. Like, this guy can take months off and come back and still just dominate lobbies. So I would really like to see Wolf stick around. I 100% agree. But I think Envy's definitely going to take this one.
It just kind of reminds me back to the early seasons of Loop also. Our first season were in a Sprinter there. We got a Sprinter championship, and then like the first season that we managed to stay in Dasher into the playoffs, we were bottom Dasher. We knew we were going to get annihilated, but even just being in that position was a victory in itself for us, for being so new. And I'm hopeful that Wolf sees it that way too. That being said, let's move on back to the right side. UNSC versus Life, or in C2's case, versus Phoenix. We all seem to be pretty well in agreement here that UNSC is going to take this, but I don't think it's quite as straightforward as we've initially been expecting it to be throughout this season. I think it's really going to be roster day of dependent to some extent, especially when you add Evil Pancake into the mix for Life. What are y'all's thoughts? Let's start with Lat.
I still think this is probably, I don't know, there's a lot of interesting matchups in Dasher, but this was one of the more interesting ones to me, because I think this depends on Life. I think even if Life brings their top, I think UNSC can still take that if UNSC is able to bring their top. But how close this match will be is really going to depend on, Life has, of course, Evil Pancake and Castle, but Willow. We've talked about Willow. We've talked about F2P, but also Odd. That if they can get all 5 of those guys there and playing cohesively and all that sort of stuff, then I think it's going to be a close match and hopefully a tiebreaker match, and that would be really interesting to watch. But I think Life, it's much more important for Life to bring, Tippy top 5 to make that, to give them that chance.
Absolutely.
Against UNSC.
Got to bring their A game. Goose.
Yeah, so last time that UNSC and Life played, Life did end up taking one of the maps. So going...
It was Quarry of all maps, too.
Yeah, it
which,
was.
historically, at least, is UNSC's map.
Right. And Life did have Evil Pancake in there. And they had a pretty good lineup. So it's hard, but I think that if UNSC and Life go at each other with their top lineups, I'm gonna have to give UNSC the edge just because of the history. I think that Life will end up taking one of the maps, but I think UNSC is gonna come out on the top. But it's gonna be an absolute amazing match, and I can't wait to watch it.
Lazarus.
Yeah, I think UNSC will take it. I don't really have anything interesting to add that hasn't already been said.
Simple as, straightforward, to the point. C2.
UNSC, I'll put it pretty straightforward. They don't have a bad, they don't have any bad players. They don't have bottom roster players. They don't have bottom lineup players. They all have top lineup players, and I just think that they'll take it against Phoenix, because Phoenix is very, how should I say this, dependent on what roster they bring. But even if UNSC brings their bottom roster, they're still amazing players. Even if it was against Life, I'd still pick UNSC over them.
Fair enough.
Emdubs, you owe us all $50.
And so moving on to the left side, Control versus Envy. All of us are saying Envy, and I'm still of the same opinion. I think Envy's going to take this match, but a little interesting tidbit to add to the mix.
Steal my stats again.
I'm not going to steal your stats. I'm just going to say one bit of history, which is Control versus UNSC. Control beating UNSC 2 maps to 1 map.
Yeah.
And they won the Quarry 3-0. They got annihilated on Abyss. 1 Quarry won the control point. And historically, in my experience watching games from Control/Berserk, they've been terrible at control point. That's been their downfall. Correct me if I'm wrong, C2. Their struggle point, and they won that one. And that's a huge mix-up, in my opinion, to happen in Cycle 6, right before we go into the playoffs, despite how good the lineup for Envy is. Do you have any thoughts on that, C2?
We've been practicing a lot on control point just because of how bad it is. We finally came to the realization that we're going to maybe lose 1 map and win 1 map, so we have to get better at this map. We're terrible on Abyss. It wasn't even close. Whenever we played against Envy pretty recently, and it's just Koala and Darkmoon are just such a difficult force, and even Venom. I mean, they're all just amazing players, and it was just so difficult. So, okay, I'm going off topic, but yeah, we try to get better at control point. Blah blah blah. Yeah, whatever. But yeah, I picked Envy.
It's. I think you actually were kind of more on topic even than I was, in that Koala, Venom, Darkmoon, as a trio in and of themselves, not even counting any of the other very good players on Envy, are a wall of force that's difficult for any group of 5 players on any team to try and overcome. And as soon as you're able to do that, you could take the team, but can that even be done is kind of the question that we're all seeming to answer with a resounding no in this matchup. Do you have more insight into that, Lat?
I just think it's the Koala Darkmoon combo. That's difficult to get over. And Envy's going to do everything they can to bring their rest of their top lineup. So do I think the 2 best on Envy are better than the 2 best on Control? Yes. So I'll pick Envy in that because, here in the semifinals, both teams are going to be bringing top lineup. And so I'll take that Koala Darkmoon pair over what Control will bring.
Fair enough.
But it'll be a fun match. It'll be a good one to watch.
Laz?
Okay. So, first factoid. Control and Envy are the only team to have played each other 3 times back-to-back.
True.
And so, the interesting thing is when you look at those matches, the record is 2-1 Envy. The first thing you notice is that Control will beat Envy if they don't have Moon or Koala, and it won't even be close. They did play against that lineup, and they absolutely destroyed Envy. It was a 3-0, it was a blowout. But the thing you notice is that when they add a funny little guy named Koala to the mix, it becomes a 2-1 Envy win. And then when you add in Darkmoon, you get a 2-0, 3-0 stomp. And so Koala and Moon, Koala, I think, undisputably the number 1 player in the game. Moon, 2, 3, 4. And even Venom, which is how much killing power and how high CPS is. If you ever look at the stats for Venom, it is insane how many bullets that dude fires per game.
Really, yeah.
It is. I think he has a machine gun instead of pistols. I don't know how he does it.
And never lets his finger off the trigger.
But Envy has built this Death Star of a team. and I don't think Control can really do anything to stop that.
Fair enough. Goose, final thoughts?
Lat said it. Everybody said it best. I think that Envy just has too many powerful players, and I think that they're going to end up taking this.
True enough. And with that being said, we move on to the finals match. We all predict it's going to be Envy versus UNSC.
Do you want to have third place first or finals?
Let's. I mean, I already brought it up. We can. I feel like third place is going to be an interesting conversation too.
Okay.
But finals for Dasher tier. Envy versus UNSC. Lat, you seem to say UNSC. C2, you think Envy. Laz, you think UNSC. It's not on my sheet, but I think it's Envy. We're pretty split here. I think that's a good indicator here that it's kind
Goose,
of.
who'd you pick?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's up
way
to
to put
Goose.
me
That's
on-
the indication.
Wait, do I get to decide who wins?
You
Yeah,
decide
we're
who
two-two.
wins.
Yep.
Yes, it's not.
All
It's not
right.
just
Rig it
opinion.
in whatever way you say.
Wait,
Right.
hold on. I gotta get my cat in here. She'll decide.
Right. The tension is on, man.
So you don't have a pet goose?
I don't.
He
I
is
have
the
I have
goose,
a
dude.
cat that's a fan of Envy.
Mhm.
But really,
His
I
cat's
think
name is Goose.
I think that Envy is going to pull out the win just because of that Dark Moon, Venom. Like they just have so many good players. Like I said during the control, like I just think that UNSC, although it's going to be extremely even, I think that Envy is going to pull out the win on the last map.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So, I'll put in my 2 cents here. I decide Envy for that kind of Death Star lineup that we brought up here. But of all the teams in the league, UNSC has the greatest chance of somehow, some way having enough killing power to overcome that kind of initial hurdle of the kill discrepancy, and then potentially out organize Envy. I think that's kind of the question mark here: is how much has Envy really played together with this lineup, rather than just relying on their abilities alone, versus has UNSC played together enough with what they might consider their top lineup to have a chance to take this match. There is the potential there, but I think if it's kind of a up in the air, that Envy kind of has the baseline a chance of taking this matchup, and that's why I chose Envy here. Laz, your opinion?
Okay, so I think Envy definitely has a slight edge in killing power. To be honest, my X factor as to why I picked UNSC to win is Crusader. Dude has the best focus, I think, of anybody in Dasher tier by far. And I think that'll give UNSC the edges on these payloads, on these on a potential control point.
Because ultimately, it is an objective game.
It is an objective
it's
game.
not just kills.
And so we've commentated some of Envy's games, and something I've noticed is that Envy tends to be kind of killing almost too much, to where they tend to like eat each other like an Ouroboros snake.
Mm-hmm.
To where they over disrupt, they take up way too much space, just because they can win 10 1v1s in a row. Because what's even the point of life? And so I think Crusader will really allow UNSC to get that cart focus, allowing them to take the payloads. And I think they'll eventually win the CP, again, with Crusader's objective focus, no matter how good Envy's killing power is in comparison.
Lat, your thoughts?
Yeah, I could see what Laz says there. Maybe a little bit of the edge on like killing power for Envy, but the thing is, like, the most important thing for any team in Dash League is you have to have killing power if you want to ascend the tiers. If you want to compete at the highest levels as a team, first and foremost, you need to be able to kill your opponents well enough to even get to the point where you can even execute a strategy. And when it comes to Envy and UNSC, not many teams can match their killing power. I think there's a smallish gap between those teams and killing power, not a huge one. And then, like what Laz was saying, I think Envy probably plays a lot more just loose and just go do your thing and whatever. And UNSC will probably come at it a little bit more formulaic, more specified roles, that sort of stuff, to where if they could put together their killing power as well as a cohesive, well thought out strategy, then they could win this.
C2, your thoughts? Since you're with me on the Envy vote, why'd you put that forward?
Yeah, I overall put Envy just because Dark Moon and Koala just have amazing chemistry because they were 1D with each other for so long. And trying to kill them two alone is like taking out a whole team. It is just so difficult. And I just think overall Envy has the better mechanics. And yes, UNSC does have much more objective, but I feel like that objective is like kind of out the window if you're just kind of getting spawn killed and you can't even touch that card.
I get it, C2.
Well, it's like when you have Koala and Dark Moon kind of like spawn camping you, it's kind of hard to even get to objective at that point. So I feel like that Envy will just take it just because they just have so much more killing power.
Fair enough. Any final thoughts on the finals before we get to the third place for Dasher?
I don't really think we brought up UNSC's players aside from Crusader.
True.
We didn't bring up Sandman, NVD candidate, Rusty, NVD
the player
candidate.
formerly known as Iconic.
Yeah. I would like us to discuss UNSC's players.
And Destroyer, yes.
And Destroyer.
Taser.
And Taser.
Mm-hmm.
So we're just gonna
back to that point. One of
we're not
y'all
gonna
made
say anything
about
about them. We're just gonna list the names.
Well, just that UNSC doesn't have a bad lineup.
You can select it anyway and get a Dasher team, a top Dasher team.
Right.
Anyway, that's my only point.
Fair enough. So third place, Control versus, in C2's case, Phoenix. In the other 3 or 4, Life versus Control. I think, honestly, hand on my heart, I think Control is going to take third place against Life. Even with EP for Life, I think Control has this. It's not going to be quick and easy at all. But I really think Life has, to some extent, like an envy problem. Not just in the like trying to outkill the other team alone ability, but I'm curious as to how much they've really played with each other. And I am a firm believer in the power and potential that out-organizing and outplaying the enemy team can have in this match. As long as you have that baseline of killing ability, like Lat has pointed out, that's so important, then you can match up against teams that in theory should just crush you, like Evil Pancake being a host unto himself, Castle being such a good killer, Willow, F2P, all these very good players for Life, who they haven't always been able to bring to every single match. I think Control is going to take this match, but that's my opinion. What about y'all?
So here's an interesting thing. Just looking at previous matchups, so Control and Life played twice. The first time Life won, and they had Evil Pancake. The second time Control won, and Life did not have Evil Pancake in the lineup. So I think that is going to come down to if whoever wins this match, if Life has Evil Pancake, I think they're going to take it. If they don't,
we'll see two playing in both of those games.
Oh my, we're not doing this again.
Right.
C2 was in. Hold on.
He was in the
Yes,
one.
I was in both of those games.
I would like to make fun of C2. Can I make fun of C2? Is when he played Control the second time, he was on cart for 4 seconds. How are you on cart for 4 seconds an entire game, C2?
Bro,
Wow.
What is wrong with you?
He said it earlier. He said objective is for pussies. I heard him say it. You all heard him say it.
4 seconds. There's 15 minutes in a payload. Like,
you know,
relax. He was on payload for 6
know.
seconds in the first one.
He didn't even know the payload was there. He was just trying to run across it to go chase a kill, and he like tripped and landed on the payload, and then like got off as soon as he stood up.
What is this team
bullying.
deathmatch?
Exactly.
Love you, C2.
So you were saying C2.
I love you too.
It was Goose, actually, that said a thing.
Yeah, I wasn't saying
Whoever,
anything.
everybody, nobody.
I mean, I kind of finished my thought. I think that if Life has Evil Pancake, I think that they'll take it. But I mean, obviously, Control's gonna put up a fight.
Yeah, I'm with Goose. I think this will be a good match, a fun one. But one of the things with like those players on Life is like they've played in the finals, like, you know, between Odd and Evil Pancake, and now Castle the last couple seasons. They've played so many finals. They know what they need to do. Willow's a great player, and you know, I'm sure he'll fit into whatever role he's put in there too. And F2P is always this wild card, fucking ADHD player that you just can't chase down and shoot. So I think Life knows enough what they're doing and how to go about winning at the highest levels. But Control has, they play together a lot and they have a solid team and all this, but they haven't played up at that highest level, and so this will be a test for them to see how it goes. I think Life will edge it out.
All right. Well, any final thoughts from Laz?
Why me?
Why not you?
Am I the final thought, Guardian?
Well, I could be the final thought, but let's get some final thoughts from Lazarus while we're at it.
My final thought is I think Life is going to win because they have Evil Pancake, and Evil Pancake can't lose.
All right, understood. Evil Pancake, you better not lose. That's what Laz is saying to you right now.
My entire savings is betted on this. I just
right. your home and your car are invested in the outcome of this match.
and my dog, dude. That's like the most important one.
Yeah, don't make him lose his dog, dude. It's all on you, EP. So all that being said, that's our discussion here. Where remains to be seen.
Hold on.
Oh?
Let me ask you guys a hypothetical.
Okay.
Because me playing on Sky half this season, I was just assuming, you know, Sky's going to get into the sprinter tier or end up in the sprinter tier. I thought Sky would either get low dasher or high sprinter, but I also thought that 12 a.m. would be there with us in sprinter, and I thought Sith would be there with us in sprinter.
Same here.
And and if it had turned out that way, who do you guys think would have won sprinter if the top three teams in there were Sith, 12 a.m. and Sky?
Well, we also want to include Wolf in there.
Wolf and Ajax.
Sure.
If we want to just have that group of 5 that I think is all pretty similar.
I think 12 a.m. would take it still.
I do too. Straight up. C2, Goose, Lat.
Well,
no.
Okay.
You shut the hell up. Goose, C2, one of you guys first.
Shut your mouth.
I'll be a little biased here. I think that we could have studied what we did wrong against 12 a.m. The first time and improved. And I think we could change our lineup up a little bit and just bring our A game, and I think we could have taken it. But I think Sith obviously would have given us a run for the money too. Sith is a really powerful team right now, but I think in order, I think it would be Sky, 12 a.m. and then Sith, third place.
C2?
Yeah, I'd have to agree with Goose on this one. I'd have to go with Sky. I just think Sky overall has the better, you know, they've been playing together for so long. Sky's been around for so long. They just have better coordination and all that. They have really good players, and they've just been around for so long that I think Sky definitely would have the chance. And then I would put 12 a.m. and probably Ajax.
Fair enough.
Also, Goose, you actually beat 12 a.m. You didn't lose to them.
No, I know.
Oh, I heard it like you guys had lost and you were going to improve about it.
No. I meant like we could have seen and learned from what we did wrong to.
And done even better. Understood.
Yeah, exactly. So that it wouldn't have been close because it was super close.
That's just what you wanted to hear, Laz. And you know what? Fuck you, dude. Fuck you, man.
So make sure you guys tell us how wrong we are in the comments.
Yes.
And that is actually a serious request. I do want to know what y'all think. So leave your opinions in the comments below. about any of these
I was
matchups.
Just
thinking
don't hate
about
on me.
I was thinking about doing a whole like turn your brackets in contest,
April
but I don't have the
Madness.
time or energy to deal with that. Yeah, maybe
Mhm.
next season we can do something with it. But so anyway, to be that last opinion on it, Sky has beaten all of those teams this season. I don't think we played a match against Ajax, but we've scrimmed them a couple times. And like I said before, they didn't bring top lineup there, but I think we'd beat Ajax. That 12 a.m. match that we played, Sky pre-checkpointed them, and then that was a sudden death waterway, and then Sky won that stadium 300 to 148. So that was
That's pretty
that was
dominant.
almost a stomp there, apart from the waterway. And I'd have to say Sky does a lot better on waterways. Waterway is probably not waterway. Domination is probably Sky's weakest game type. But yeah, we just beat Wolf 2-0, Cycle 6. I think they beat Sith earlier in the season. Before that was their first match against Sith. So Sith's very first match. Sith has now 1 season of experience. So I think if we had a match top lineups with both of those teams, that would be interesting. But I think typically we beat Sith in scrimmages and stuff as well. But I don't know how often we've played Sith when they have Warner's, Vune, and Ares all at the same time.
That would
they usually have 2 of those 3, but
because Ares has improved so much over the season.
Yeah, Ares is starting to piss me off. In pubs, Ares, son of a bitch, leave me alone, dude. So yeah, I would. Yeah, go ahead.
Real quick, not to drag this on too long, but if things weren't wonky like we were saying, who do you think would win Walker then?
Can we go back to the?
Yeah,
I don't remember who's the Walker.
Yeah, now we're kind of coming up with hypothetical Walker tier.
Yeah, I mean, this is it's interesting to me though. Here, hold on, I'll load back up the Walker.
It's the storylines we were expecting to see at the end that we don't get to, and now I want to talk. Like Dasher is what Dasher is, so that was the same, but
yeah,
Springer
I mean,
was looking real good. So I kind of wanted to get y'all's opinions on how that one would have ended if it had gone the way we all expected. But yeah, Walker's interesting.
We're taking out Sky and Ajax.
ATX is my favorite.
Would we want to put in who would we put in instead of Sky and Ajax?
I would say Underdog
would have been down there.
Oh, I would
Underdog,
Underdog and Limbo, probably. Underdog, Limbo. You'd probably say those are the weakest sprinter tier.
For me, it's ATX versus Underdog. That's my finals. I'm thinking.
I would actually agree with you there. I think that but here's the thing. Like I mentioned a while ago, I had like a whole breakdown of who I thought was going to win. And a little spoiler, I'm going to publish that, but I think a little spoiler, I picked Underdog to win Walker. So I'm sticking to that. If things weren't wonky, I think Underdog would have won Walker.
They would for sure take Walker, but yeah.
Well, fair enough.
E2, you have any thoughts on this hypothetical?
What hypothetical? Oh,
man, you literally sound like you just took a nap, woke up. And
I think this time he actually might have.
I'm sorry, I'm trying not to fall asleep here.
All right. You and Lab.
I'm just on try.
I'm trying here. But no, I think ATX would probably take Walker tier just because of how much they're improving, and Toshiro definitely has ATX by the
cojones, if you will.
Yeah.
By the Co-Jones.
Don't want to say too much because kids watching this.
Right.
But yeah.
Nice.
All right. Well, thank you all for watching this DASHCAST segment, and we'll catch you all in the next one. Make sure you
subscribe,
keeping on.
Notifications. Bye.
All of the above. Likes, subscribbles.
Make sure to complain to Lat.
Don't forget, complain to Lat. Complain to 4 too. Or we're not going to let 4 off easy.
Their addresses are popping up on the screen now.
Rest in peace.
Complain to me about how terrible everyone else on this show is and how great I am. Actually,
Fat
no,
chance
I
of
would just want
that.
to say again, Goose has been super busy this whole week and stuff. And so thanks to Goose for being able to show up
Yeah.
and get this show in real quick.
Darn
Gollum, thanks
real life work.
for leading this conversation. Laz
Mhm.
C2, thanks for showing up, fellas. It was fun talking to you guys and shit talking C2 especially. It's always fun.
Right.
Oh
4
my.
seconds, Sam.
Um,
How are you on the card for 4 seconds?
Listen,
4
shush.
seconds.
1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi. There you go. There's your
Okay,
card.
can we
Done.
end this
That's all
already?
you gotta do. That's all you gotta do.
End this-
Yeah, you've
end
done
this.
your part. All right, that was a fun playoff preview though. But anyway, wrap it up.